take to have your family separated? Because at the age of 5, my father was deported.
Giovanna Castaneda led protesters in Newark who rallied and raged against the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy that forcibly separates children from immigrant families who cross into the southern U.S. Border agents have swept up more than 700 kids since October. The number of children in federal custody has surged 21% under the president's new policy. And the impacts felt thousands of miles away here in New Jersey, a diverse state that's home to an estimated 500,000 unauthorized immigrants.
They want to call us animals. They want to call us rapists. They want to call us murderers. They've been calling us criminals for decades. But our humanity is not up for debate.
This is something that is unconstitutional, it's un-American, it's inhumane. The ACLU is challenging this policy in court as a violation of due process.
This family, too fearful to give their name, lives in New Jersey now. They crossed the border after fleeing violence in El Salvador 2 years ago. Even then, agents took the boy and put him with other kids in what many migrants call the cooler.
They sent us a place white and it was so cold. I didn't have my coat.
What were you thinking about?
I was thinking about my family together.
I didn't know where he was at one point. It made me very worried. Not knowing if he was warm or safe was really hard. It's not right. It's something I had to live through. And I asked that they stop separating parents from children.
Some parents spend months apart from their kids, but the Trump administration has made it clear deterrence is precisely the point.
If you cross the border unlawfully, even a first offense, then we're going to prosecute you. And that child will be separated from you probably as required by law. If you don't want your child to be separated, then don't bring him across the border illegally. It's not our fault that somebody does that.
Whether they're separated from family or cross the border alone, unaccompanied children by law can't be detained by Border Patrol more than 3 days. Ultimately, kids end up at Health and Human Services Office of Refugee Resettlement, which held more than 10,700 unaccompanied minors in custody nationwide as of May 29th. That's up from 8,800 just a month before. It's a looming crisis, with ORR's 100 shelters in 14 states already at 95% capacity. NJTV News has learned a small one here in Pennsauken, Camden County, can reportedly house 20 kids.
They could be children that came with their parents and because of this new policy got separated. And so the children are going into ORR custody. They could be placed in that shelter in Camden. Children who have lived through extremely violent and dangerous situations, who have suffered multiple forms of trauma, we're now putting in these facilities and separating them from their parents. It just breaks your heart.
ORR says 93% of kids get released to parents or family members scattered across the U.S., a surprising number of them here in New Jersey. In fact, Jersey ranks 7th among states in the number of kids received, from almost 1,500 in fiscal year 2015 to about 2,300 last year and 867 through this March. But advocates fear another new Trump administration policy might significantly slash the number of families willing to sponsor these children. That's because Health and Human Services will now share a family's personal information with ICE, and these families often are undocumented.
It's deeply problematic for it to be working closely with an immigration agency that is seeking to deport people who may be caregivers for the children. And so separating, those functions is very important.
Because they're going to run fingerprint checks and do all sorts of background checks on the families, a lot of those family members may not step forward to sponsor the children, which is going to leave the children in these ORR shelters, which are really like detention facilities, most of them.
Families' fear isn't unfounded. ICE arrests of unauthorized immigrants in New Jersey are up 42% over last year. Fearful families may not answer the phone when the feds call, and that might help explain why ORR couldn't initially check up on 1,500 kids last fall. The public responded with searing criticism, posting hashtags like missing children and where are the children. Advocates say maybe some did slip through the cracks, or maybe they're too afraid to be found.
Families belong together.
Meanwhile, advocates say only 1 in 3 New Jersey immigrants can afford an attorney, even though a recent study by the Vera Institute of Justice showed lawyers in New York helped immigrants win 50% of deportation cases, compared to just 4% when they're unrepresented.
Where are public officials? They're too busy to stand with us on the streets. Where are they? In the State House? There should have been an emergency meeting yesterday to figure out how the New Jersey legislature is going to deal with this issue.
Governor Murphy's budgeted $2 million that would help immigrants pay for a lawyer when they go to deportation court. It's to be seen whether that appropriation survives the budget process. In Newark, I'm Brenda Flanagan, NJTV News.